Aloha. Welcome to another episode of Maunalua Past, Present, and Future. My name is Kendrick Chang. I'm a youth advisor for Livable Hawaii Kai Hui. And today we are going to be doing a kind of a youth advisor update as we did the same episode in last year. And joining me is none other than Dylan Ramos.
Hi, thank you for having me back.
Yeah, and I guess, initially, we were thinking, oh, we were going to just focus on a particular subject. But I think since, last year we just had that free-flowing conversation, might as well provide an update to the viewers of everything that we've been doing and, representation of Livable Hawaii Kai Hui.
Awesome. I guess I'll start. Since last year, I've applied to go study abroad in Japan. And I think when this episode airs, I might actually be there. But something exciting about that is that over this past spring break, I actually got to visit students from Sophia University in Tokyo. And I got to meet a lot of them, and I actually shared, a lot of them were very interested in Hawaii, and I shared a lot about our work in the Hui.
Wonderful, Dylan. And I mean, actually, I did want to kind of just jump a little more backwards from, last summer as, 1 year ago, we were actually talking about the annual gathering that Livable Hawaii Kai Hui was organizing, and we were the two main event coordinators. And we do have a few photos up on the screen, if we can get them up, of the annual gathering of us speaking. Just putting together an event like that. What do you remember and what do you take away from it?
Wow, that's a real throwback right now. But that was a lot of fun, a lot of pressure, but I'm really glad our director, Elizabeth Riley, really prompted us to do that, and we worked a lot together. I think we both have had event planning experience before, but for me at least, that was definitely one of the most work I've done, and it was a little nerve-wracking, but you really helped me through it, and I think it came out great.
That's wonderful, and I guess as Elizabeth put it, that was actually the largest annual gathering we had, and really this is an event we do some version of it every year as part of our commitment as a nonprofit is an opportunity to provide our supporters and the wider audience kind of an opportunity to see of what we've been doing. And I think everyone I spoke to afterwards were like, wow, that's a lot of projects, because I think what's very unique about Livable Hawaii Kai Hui, and I think you'll attest to that too, is that we're really an organization that's really known for 4 to 5 different projects. Not only we're really known as a one singular organization. And I don't know if you want to just pick up on that, about just that aspect of the Hui that maybe not everyone realizes.
No, absolutely. I think you put it really well. If anything, I was a little, as I do a lot of our social media, as you know, and if anything, over the past, going on 3 years, I think, that I've been with the Hui, there was points where I was a little worried about people not realizing who the Hui was because they were so involved with our individual projects. But now, as you said, I think that annual gathering, that one specifically, was a really good way to get more of the community more knowledgeable about our role in tethering all of that from Mauka to Makai, all those projects.
For me personally, and I guess for you, we were both known from the Kiwi fundraising campaign 2015, but I think we touch in a way of every single parcel or stewardship land that Livable Hawaii Kai Hui manages and protects for the community. And with that said, I guess maybe another key parcel besides the Kiwi coastline, which we will get to later on, is Keawe Wetlands and Hawaiʻi complex.
Yes, for those two pieces of land, there's been such a transformation. Every month, really. I was going to say every year there's a big one, but every month we have our second Saturdays, our community cleanups, and I've been lucky enough to be to a couple, but really I see a lot when I get sent pictures to post on social media, while I'm in college, and I'm just amazed, especially I think our biggest groups, and I believe on the screen we have one of our, it was a summer series, a Malama the Marshes summer series, where we saw a lot of the people who come out to the second Saturdays, and they really got to experience and learn more about the cultural side and the scientific side of the wetlands that they don't really get just in volunteering. And speaking of that, I'm also really excited about these last Sunday of the month talk stories that we've also added on the Hawaiʻi side in partnership with Maunalua.net. And that's a really exciting way to add more cultural components to our work on the wetland.
And you know, with partnerships, you know, and particularly with Keawe Wetland, there is, you know, the ŌleloNet, you know, our endangered Hawaiian moorhen, and you know, I think the two of us, you know, we were very lucky, you know, for the past 5 years till, you know, well, though last year's summer might have been the last one. Charles Van Reese.
Oh yes, Charles. I miss him. He became a real staple of our group, our community, when he was working with the ŌleloNet, and I really hope he's doing great. I think he got his PhD from Tufts.
Yeah, he had his dissertation defense back in February, and I think he just recently graduated. We'll see what he ends up doing next. But I think, you know, for that, you know, as we are mainly, you know, I guess event marketing and just all around, you know, everything. But I mean, just to work with experts like Charles on just a very specific organism, which kind of transcends into a more larger ecosystem as wetlands, was really another emphasis of his research. And we hosted several talk stories at the Wahoo Club, and you know, looking at that, you know, what do you think, you know, was special about that opportunity?
Definitely, I'd have to say, I mean, everything you just said about Charles alone was definitely special. All the knowledge he brought with him and shared with us, and also brought out of other people we already work with, such as like Mahilapi here. He was in one of the past photo. We have a lot of this. We're starting to get at least a lot of this cultural knowledge and a little bit of the science, but Charles really added to that. And now we got to see like Keiki to all their grandma and grandpas. They were all there at the talk stories, and we're starting to see more people, like I said, come out to the second Saturdays, and we're also seeing new families of ŌleloNet. We're seeing little baby chicks, and it's beautiful.
And you know, to touch on, you know, science, I think what really made it easy for the both of us was, you know, for Charles, he had a really effective way of, you know, kind of interpreting and presenting really finite and, you know, advanced knowledge about not only ŌleloNet as an organism, but you know, how it is part of the larger wetland ecosystem, particularly a freshwater wetland, which is Keawe Wetland. And you know, just looking at that, I guess, you know, with that, I don't know about, you know, in terms of your knowledge, but do you think Charles, and you know, just going through that really kind of brighten your perspective, just maybe in science in general, or you know, just about, you know, the place that we're really there to help, you know, serve?
Absolutely. No, that whole idea of sustainable urban wetlands, specifically urban wetlands, we eventually ended up working with him of this year, 2018, and that was really an eye-opening experience to really learn not just the importance of wetlands. We've talked about them a lot before, but the benefits of specifically wetlands in urban areas, such as Hawaii Kai, that can keep everything we talk about, water filtration, soil, preventing soil erosion. All those things are very, very important. And yeah, as you said, I definitely took I took like 3 years of biology in high school, and that still taught me so much.
And then I think, you know, just a combination, you know, of Charles's time was actually, you know, with the 2018 World Wetlands Day celebration at Keawe Wetland, Hawaii, which, you know, now this is a great, you know, transition in terms of just that event itself being the culmination of, you know, not only all of Charles's work, but, you know, all the work we've been doing to protect the wetlands since 2014.
Yes, and maybe this is a little jumping ahead, but that really helped us with the Disney Conservation Fund. That really helped bring everything together. Yeah, like you said, we were working for years, and especially in those final months, really getting a lot of momentum and a lot more community members out. And come World Wetlands Day, it was just an amazing event.
And I mean, for, you know, World Wetlands Day, you know, I mean, just, you know, on the social media site and just seeing, you know, I guess the impact it has made, you know, I mean, because typically, you know, we have our second Saturday cleanups and now our, you know, talk stories with Maunalua.net. Usually, you know, there's a little more, you know, smaller scale. It's not like we widen massively politicized, but I think for that event, you know, there was a little more of a emphasis of, you know, more, you know, in terms of media outreach and just, you know, really inviting a more at-large community together instead of more, you know, specific groups.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. Well,
I'm
that last part.
Yeah.
it wasn't just trying to get more media outreach or just not just the public, but we were really starting. That was the first event, I think, especially of the year, if not my whole time with the Hui, that I started to notice more of these connections, the group-to-group connections. A lot of nonprofits. I believe we worked with, I don't know, 10 or more groups on that.
Yeah, and not just nonprofits, but we had our fellow partners at.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We saw, who did we see? We had the Wahoo Club, Mud and Water, the Resilience Office from the city and county, the Audubon Society,
NOAA,
DLNR, like so many wonderful groups. And yeah, that was really eye-opening to see just how integrated we can make our community.
Yeah, and I guess, the transition, I think, as there has always been a World Wetland celebration here on Oahu, and in previous years it was in Kailua, and then this was the first year that Keawe Wetland was kind of like the gathering point for World Wetlands Day celebration for 2018. And I think, it kind of speaks to that particular year's theme in 2018, which was, for a sustainable future, urban and, suburban lifestyle. And I think, from your perspective, why was that particular theme important?
That specific theme was, I think, actually, not to bring up Charles too much, but he really showed me, he really taught me like the importance of that when he gave me the example of Louisiana and Hurricane Katrina, how a lot of the damage that was done could have been prevented by, could have been prevented along with the conservation of all the wetland loss. I think some crazy statistic, I don't want to be quoted on this, but something like 2/3 of the wetland loss in the country over the decades prior to Katrina happened in Louisiana, and that really opened my eyes.
Well, and then I guess I just reading off the quote of the theme, which was it's really to put it straightforward, it was wetlands for a sustainable urban future, and I guess it kind of speaks to Hawaii as we are an island state, and right now there has just more on a wider broad spectrum in general. We have seen more development in in other parts of the island, but especially in terms of urbanizing downtown Honolulu and just the immediate part within Honolulu's reach. And East Oahu is actually in Hawaii Kai is kind of like the end of that spectrum. So I think why is it that Keawe Wetland is kind of important to speak to in terms of just the overall about how can we mix urban needs to meet not only housing but just in terms of our economy, but also the environmental concerns and priorities that we are trying to protect.
I wish I had brought along the picture of this, but I remember seeing these two maps side by side of Oahu's wetlands, and the wetlands were lit up in green, and it went all around the island. And then today you see just small splotches, and luckily we're one of them down in East Honolulu. And when we look at Keawe, we can see these new endangered alaiula, but they're starting to thrive. We have new baby chicks, several baby chicks, and I think that just goes to prove that when the community can come together, like on second Saturdays, for instance, you can really make a difference.
Yeah, and I think this is a great transition point as another major important event that happened actually more recently, but just within this spring was the Maunalua Heritage Festival.
Oh yes, and I brought the shirt for it. That was, again, I think that was the next big, for me at least, coming back from California to work on it. I was super excited that I could make it back in time. I got to see all those connections again, even more so than World Wetlands Day. We got to see so many people come out to our big kickoff event, and I don't know, maybe you can.
Yeah, and then right now on the screen, we had a hula halau. We did have several other performers, but it was kind of really a all-in community celebration.
And as you can see, I believe this was Hui Kamale. They had some wonderful performers, all from Keiki to Kupuna. We also had Tavana, Makana, and Lono. And of course, the biggest attraction, though, as you might be able to see in the background, just a little bit, the Hawaiian flag flying from the Hokulea right here.
Right, and it was one of the destination spots of the Hokulea as it recently completed its World Hawaii tour, and then just within the past several months, it has kind of done its, aloha voyage throughout the state. And, Maunalua Bay was picked as one of the spots. And I guess, why was it special that, we extend not only the hokulea's, welcoming and aloha to, really highlight all the conservation and community work, we've been doing, and not just here at Livable Hawaii Kai Hui, Malama Maunalua, Friends of Hanauma Bay, and many other partners here in Maunalua.
Well, I think you already touched on it in that lead up. The Malama Honua voyage, we're all in one canoe, we're all on one planet Earth, and I thought that was just so special. I really got goosebumps, and I'm starting to get some thinking about it right now. I got to step onto the hokulea when they were docked at the Hawaii Kai Town Center, and I think everybody who was able to come out that entire week, or even more after that week, they were still there a little bit. I think everybody who made it there really got to feel that connection to the entire planet and how it's important, and it touches all the way to our very home.
And just to expand on that, actually, we had a theme for the Maunalua Heritage Festival, which was Eho Mai Wai, to enrich yourselves with all of Maunalua and the Wai, which means water has to offer. And, I guess, we are actually a real, land-based organization, which is kind of how Livable Hawaii Kai Hui was founded. But, to connect us as a Mauka organization with some of the Makai organizations, that is within our community, I guess, just reflect on that theme, what strikes out to you, Dylan?
I'd have to say that it really, I agree with your assessment that the Hui is very Mauka oriented, but at the same time, we do have those very strong connections to the Makai side. For example, we have so many supporters through our Keawe Coast and Keawe Mauka projects who came from like Save Sandy Beach, Save Queens Beach, and all those things. And I believe it might have just flashed on the screen beforehand, but the day before our official kickoff to the Maunalua Heritage Festival, we had this beautiful Vai ceremony put on with the help of Anne-Marie Kirk and Kaleo Pike. We saw, I believe it was 16 sources of water that all feed into Maunalua Bay. We brought all those waters into these ipu or gourds, and the next day we were able to welcome the hokulea by blessing it with those waters, and I thought that was just so beautiful.
Yeah, and then, and I think is a great transition point. And, as water, even with all of its benefits, there are sometimes, unfortunate events that occur, because of Mother Nature. And there was a recent major flooding back in April. And another important part of ours, Kamilunui Valley, was impacted. And if you could share, what, you were able to assist the Hui in, kind of just facilitating the recovery efforts.
Sure. I guess I'd have to start with, I had I think it was a text, it turned into a call, I believe, from our director, Elizabeth Riley. It was about midnight, or getting closer to late in LA, but I just happened to be up, starting to get ready for finals and whatnot. But I was so glad I was up because she told me about the real devastation. Waters flooded in from like 3 different points into our nursery, and I just recently I walked the nursery, and you can still even after hours of cleanup from some great people like Permablitz Hawaii, Polynesian Voyaging Society, a lot of good people came out, but there's still a lot of work to do, a lot of damage. And I was so glad to receive that call because that's very night I set up our GoFundMe, and we're doing great. A lot of great help from some anonymous donors, the Hui Nalu.
Yep, Hui Nalu Canoe Club.
Canoe Club, I believe, even Kamehameha Schools. Just a lot of people it's helping to bring back focus to our ag lands in Kamilunui Valley and the importance of maybe thinking about some master planning and what that could mean for the future and keeping that entire valley living, thriving.
And just expanding on it, and I think not many people knows, but our nursery in Kamilunui Valley is really actually kind of like our, quote, headquarters space.
Exactly.
And I guess for those, who didn't know, could you share, a little bit more, Dylan, as to why, that kind of really supports Keawe and all of our other projects?
Of course. So Aloha Aina o Kamilunui is, as you said, kind of our headquarters. But also, yeah, it's our main nursery, and they do so many beautiful things with growing native plants. I feel like I've used the word beautiful a lot, but it really describes so many of these projects. So even after those floods, and like I said, I walked the land, you can still see the small seedlings and all the plants still there that fortunately weren't destroyed. They are ready to, yeah, like you said, at Keawe Wetland, the nursery supplies those plants, a lot of the native plants that we plant there, and even some of our partners, the Hui helps with the Maunalua Fish Pond Heritage Center. They're one of our good partners, and the nursery also supplies them with plants and a lot of the community.
Yeah. No, and I mean that's really great, and I guess, and really actually, that was really the parcel which our organization was founded on, was to first protect Nui Valley.
And I don't know if this was exactly planned to be talked about here, but I just have to make a good shout out to our now former director, Gail Carr. She had to step away from the organization. She doesn't live in Hawaii full time, but she still gives us great support. And I was just really touched to see these old photos of her. And yeah, she was working on that Save Kamila Nui Valley project. And it just goes to show the way this work can bring our community together.
And and touch on, as we previously talked with our other project about sustainability and kind of building a sustainable urban future. And Kamila Nui Valley is one of a couple parcels in East Oahu that is agriculture land. And I guess why it's not necessarily, it's sometimes, I guess, overlooked might be the right word, but why is it that it might not be overlooked? It may be overlooked, but why is it so significant to have agriculture land in a suburban neighborhood?
Well, as you just alluded to, it is like one of the only remaining ag lands in that our entire area, and it just really helps to. Not that conservation always can help highlight the importance of nature and the environment, but when we see those ag lands, we really see that connection to the community and how it can provide for us in like very reasonable economic terms. But it's not all about economics, but that's really where you can see that connection biggest. That's what I think, at least.
Yeah, and and I think that's really important. And I think hopefully we will see more of our work being touched on Kamila Nui Valley in the near future, or I mean just moving forward.
Absolutely.
And then lastly, I did want to touch on one exciting development, as we both actually really started in Livable Hawaii Kai Hui because of the Keawe Wetlands and the 2015 fundraising campaign. And now that we have the parcel secured back in 2017, 2018 marks the first year where we're going to have public access days, which is part of our conservation easement agreement. And as you see parcel 1 and parcel 2, that's the Keawe Wetlands on your screen among the map of our community. And the access days is going to be on August 5th and 6th of 2018. And we are still in the early stages of planning, Dylan, but I mean just so for why you feel it's important that in our easement plan that we have these public access days where it's facilitated, not just a free-for-all hike per se.
Yes. No, that's a very good point. So yeah, this Keawe exploration, it really, we always want to thank the community that helped us save these lands. But we have to be really careful and smart about the way we treat those lands. We were supported to conserve the lands and keep them safe and natural. So that was one of the key things. So we want to make sure that all the native plants are taken care of, all the invasive species are removed, and also any cultural sites that are on the property. There are some cultural sites that we can see through archaeology that need to be protected in their own way. And so we can't have everybody walking through there stomping on whatever they walk on. We really need to figure out a way to balance this, like you said, this public access versus what we were asked to save.
And as for you, Dylan, I mean we both have a lot of mutual friends who hike a lot of these parcels out here in Maunalua, and sometimes it's really about the hikes, but this one is a little different where there's this orientation education component, and it's a guided where we're having multiple stops on the way to talk about the cultural significances and the natural significances, and organism, ecosystem in the area. And why do you think maybe that education cultural component is just as important as just the hiking for recreation?
Well, I think my last answer kind of applies to that as well. Anybody can go walk anywhere and just look around, but they won't necessarily get that right appreciation or get the right ideas about being cautious when they need to. And I think that's something that people really need to keep in mind, especially on, exactly, these lands that have so many cultural and natural importances to them.
Excellent. And, again, it's August 5th and 6th, and people can look up KahuiCoast.org for more information. And, we still have a few minutes left, and I know we initially touched upon about, what your plans are studying abroad, but maybe just briefly, if you can share, what's next maybe beyond right after college, or have you looked much further?
Well, the study abroad semester might really change everything. Who knows what it'll be like when I come back. But I have been looking at different things now that after I come back, it'll be officially my senior year. So I'm a political science, international relations, and history student. So I'm starting to look into things like public policy school, or maybe even like you, and maybe you can share more about your plans, law school.
Yeah, and I guess particularly, as you said, policy, which, last year I actually had an opportunity, during my junior year at the George Washington University to intern for our Hawaii Congressional Delegation for Congresswoman Colleen Hanabusa in her D.C. office. And, we had a conversation earlier about, just, my experience in it with the phone calls and constituent services, but also the policy aspect with, her serving on Natural Resources Committee and the subcommittee for public lands. And, for my experience in that, it really kind of ties back. I got to see the federal side, but a lot of the same issues about access, a lot of issues about how can we create, preservation lands to remain sustainable for the future, or to keep it maybe sometimes how it is, or how we can revitalize, sometimes overlooked, parcels of land. And I guess for you, do you see that kind of playing into maybe potentially what could be a career path?
Very possibly. I'm not, like I said, I'm not entirely sure, but just speaking with you about those kinds of experiences, you really start to see the importance of making those connections on every level: federal, state, city, and very local, like the Hui.
Yeah, wonderful. And as we're about to run out of time, but I just want to finally thank you again, Dylan, for just this another I guess mini Ōlelo reunion, shall we say, and an annual update for all of our viewers as to everything that's going on in Livable Hawaii Kai Hui, from its own youth and up and coming community advisors.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and lastly, I just want to thank myself and Dylan, Ōlelo Studios, and Kaimuki High School for hosting us today, and for providing the venue for this talk segment. And I again encourage you all, if you're interested in learning more, you can look us up at Livable Hawaii Kai Hui. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And finally, especially for our Kaiwi Exploration Days, August 5th and 6th, 2018, KahuiCoast.org. And even if August 5th and 6th has already passed, it's just the start of a number of access days, which will be going on yearly, and still be on the lookout for that.